我觉得 AHQ 是一个很强的对手。
我觉得我们下路的实力是绝对要强于他们的。我觉得只要我们下路正常发挥，我觉得可以赢。
Death sends from across the wall into that jump is Nadius, not going anywhere, and Deft is going to pick up another one.
我觉得安能打败 Deft， 他是我队友，所以我相信他。
It's another beautiful kill, but triple for Anne, and the Urgot is making plays.
我们会打败 EDG 在4场里面。
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2015 Mid-Season Invitational. We are one series down and just minutes away from Game 1 of our second semifinal between the LPL's Edward Gaming and the LMS's AHQ Esports Club. But first, we wanted to click over to Twitter and see how you guys are sharing this week's event. At Jacob Kilroy1 is hitting the books while learning a thing or two from FLICKR's Ezreal. I promise that's going to come up in just a second so that we can see it.
Oh, well.
There it is. There it is. Study time while watching League of Legends. What could be better than that? And at Red Alex is experiencing MSI Inception here at Florida State University. Sweet seats. I mean, you got to take in Twitch chat, right? I feel like that's the only reason you open the stream while sitting at the actual event. We'll keep those great snapshots coming our way. We're at LOL Esports, and remember to use the hashtag MSI2015. Now, last week, we got our first glimpse of the new Samsung White Championship skins, and among them is everyone's favorite pride-stalking jungler, Rengar.
랭가를 좋아하는 이유는 기동성이 빠른데 궁극기를 사용하면 또 그게 극대화가 되고
Dandy is starting to loop around. Here he comes. He's in stealth.
As you learn, they know he's there, but they don't know who he's on. He eats Uzi right away.
Samsung White, the 2014 World Champion. Now, Dandy, along with all of our 2014 World Championship skins, will be available starting May 14th. Also, check out our other Legacy Esports skins featuring Fnatic, the Taipei Assassins, and SKT in the store now through June 1st. But now it's time to turn our attention back to the games with our second semifinal between Edward Gaming and AHQ Esports Club. We've said EDG was one of the most aggressive teams, and they've been proving it this week, even grabbing the fastest win at the event in just 22 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, they've reverted to their old style. The aggressive EDG is back, and they're doing it with some strange picks. Not only are they picking up the likes of Gragas and Rek'Sai, but the Kalista and Azir are coming through, and I don't think anyone expected that because, honestly, Deft's Azir did not look that fantastic coming through. Kalista, sorry, didn't look fantastic coming through in the LPL, but he's pulled it out. He's playing it to an absolutely massive KDA, and he just does so much damage for his team.
I want to shed some light on the misconception about EDG that Pawn is the main carry. He is not. He is, in the first 15 minutes, being a part of 21% of the kills. That is the lowest number out of all the mid laners in this tournament, and because all the games are fast-paced, this statistic is extremely relevant. All the gold is funneled into Clear Love, Deft, and Koro. They are really the carries. Pawn is more like a distraction, so sending resources to the mid lane is really just wasting your time because in the end, he's not the one that's going to be carrying EDG. It's going to be Deft and the top laner.
All right, well, meanwhile, AHQ is the team that never says die. We mentioned it earlier. They were fourth in their region, but have been a force to be reckoned with here at MSI.
Yeah, and I was actually really impressed because I was personally not looking so much at AHQ because they came in as an underdog and everybody actually expected them to go out at the first round, but they really impressed me, and especially Ziv, doing really, really great in the top lane, playing a really strong game against Marin Snar. I can just repeat that over and over. I really was impressed by the Maokai play, and I think that, if anything, he will have a really hard time against Chorus now because that is a notch even better, so I think we should look out for his 1v1 especially.
Yeah, there's another matchup I want to touch on. It's that jungle matchup because Mountain right now, he's been coming out hot. This guy came up on the team in 5.5 and they just had a stellar run with them through just the playoffs. And now he's here. He's a big part of why they're here. And he's also got the highest kill participation pre-15 minutes of all junglers in the tournament. He's making moves on the map and they are paying off big for his team. A huge facilitator. Problem though, he's untested on anything other than Rek'Sai, the 100% pick ban monster. His Jarvan was underwhelming, and if that gets banned, and we saw it highly contested in that last series, I don't know what he's going to fall back on. But of course, you got to jump over to the other side here too, because he's up against a monster. He's up against ClearLove in the jungle for EDG. ClearLove has a career that could be considered one of the best in all of League of Legends in terms of success. He has the highest KDA in the tournament. That's not just junglers, that's everybody in the tournament. He's an absolute beast, and he is another carry alongside Deft and Koro. So this is a 3-threat team here, with Pawn being the distraction.
And this is nothing new. ClearLove's done it all season long. This is not like 16% doesn't even blow me out of the water here in such a concentrated size. He did the whole of the LPL season, the longest season in the world, with a 10 KDA.
Yeah, and his Rek'Sai KDA was like 48 coming into this tournament after like 4 or 5 games. He's just a monster in that jungle.
Cool thing about this matchup is that we know AHQ has been relentless in the early game. In fact, 4 out of the 5 games, they have gotten the first blood and the first tower. But they have struggled with closing out the early leads, particularly to poor vision denial and lackluster vision control. But EDG, we know it's a team that can go late really well, but they've won the fastest. That means that they can also switch gears and play the same game that AHQ can.
All right, well, before we hand it off to our casters, we got to go around the horn here, do our predictions. Spawn, you're up first.
Yeah, EDG for me in this one. I think that EDG just have so many tools to win this series. I think if AHQ can really play it on their terms, they still don't win. EDG beats them, so I'm all in on that one.
I think that's a really, keeping me also on EDG's side, so I will go for EDG as well.
I'm gonna go with AHQ for this one. Actually, when they ask Westro, how do you think we're gonna win? He just says with the coldest stare, we'll beat him in 4 games. Like, this guy is the kind of guy that says, "Did I stutter?" That's what he said. I think AHQ can do this.
AHQ did give SKT a run for their money, but I do have to go with EDG here. I think pound for pound across the lanes, they just stack up a little bit better. AHQ is the underdog, though, and they have been coming out of this tournament hot. They're a lot better than people expected.
Well, let's see how that compares to the fan votes on LoLesports.com, where 76% say that Edward Gaming are going to take this series. This is an uphill battle for AHQ, but it has been this whole way through, at least in our minds, and they've proven us wrong so far. We'll see if they can do it again. As we toss it over to our casters to take us into the game, we'll hear from a player that has climbed to the top of the challenger ladder in 3 different regions around the world, and is still looking to go higher.
大家好，这是 AHQ 的西门，我打的是中路的位置。我们 AHQ 是来自台湾，一个出产过世界冠军的地方。刚接触英雄联盟的时候，是我17、18岁的时候。我职业生涯从我在那时候是台服第1，然后那时候被邀请去那个 TT 战队。那时候因为太年轻了，不够沉稳，会发生一些合约的纠纷。然后最后处理是被禁赛了半年。然后被禁赛半年，那时候蛮失落的，就是很多选手黄金期就在那半年。那半年我就也没有继续比赛，就在网咖开实况。然后那段时间在维持台服第1 8个月之后，也挑战了美服，然后在美服打到了第1，然后之后挑战韩服，在韩服打到了第2。那时候韩服第1是 FLICKR。
那后来会加入 AHQ 团队的时候，是他合约已经到了。然后我们就邀请他加入我们 AHQ 团队。
就是那时候大家以为苦尽甘来，加入 AHQ 会有好成绩。事实上，一开始是打得还不错，但是中间之后开始起起伏伏，就是成绩很不稳定。然后也是大比赛是输给 TPA， 然后直到最近在新加坡拿到了门票。
And there is an ace in the end, and it's going to be.
世界赛我们输给 EDG， 就是在加赛的时候用1比2击败给他们。大家都放假，他去休息，然后开实况，陪女朋友的陪女朋友。然后我们也经历了一些人选的改变，然后就是希望能再把队伍的沟通做得更好，然后选手操作更精细，更好。就成绩一路起起伏伏。那我们就顺利从第4名的位置，然后击败了老3，然后击败了第2名，然后击败了第1名，然后取得这次 LNS 冠军，然后拿下这次前往 NSI 的机票。我觉得 NSI 是一个参考，就是各区实力的各区的 meta 和各区的实力的好机会。
新人很努力，其实我们私底下都叫他地才。所谓地才，就是他其实是用努力弥补掉所有他不足的地方。
西门擅长的事情就大概是肆意分推，然后他的专长就是 小会战他都抠得蛮不错的，对。
西门，我觉得他比较刺客型的选手，我觉得他在分推上做得特别好，就是他比较擅长1打1，1打1就是在分推上面，然后可以给对方比较大的压力。
他其实是一个蛮不错的选手，对，而且我觉得老天爷真的赏他这一口饭吃，
就是希望他能够越打越好，然后变成世界第1中路。
泡 AHQ Kobe 的话，我会打到不能打为止。我如果打的表现很烂，我不会让我的粉丝看到我表现烂的一面，我会自己退出。我觉得你有梦想呢，就不要怕任何阻碍，去追寻，不放手，直到梦想到手。
And what a way for Westdoor to double down in this match. Not only does he get to face EDG, but he gets to face one of the guys that also knocked him out at Worlds. I guess 2 in Pawn and Def, so it's going to be great for him. Hello, everyone. I am Rivington Biz III, and sharing the caster booth with me for our final semifinal showdown is David Freak Turley and Martin Deficialunga. Gentlemen, Martin, I know you were getting a little teary-eyed there. You used to watch Westdoor's stream back in the day.
I did. Long time ago. I used to watch him when he was ranked 1 in NA and then ranked 2 in Korea, of course. What a fantastic player. He's showing here in this tournament as well. The fist performance from time to time. Yeah. If he can handle himself in the mid lane, AHQ has a chance to win.
Well, let's see. We're going to get right into it. Let's check out the starting lineups. On the blue side, it is Edward Gaming. That means it's Koro in the top lane, Clear Love in the jungle, Pawn in mid, Deft at AD carry, and Mako at support.
And meanwhile, on the red side for game 1 is AHQ Esports Club, Ziv in the top lane, Mountain in the jungle, Westdoor in mid, Anna AD carry, and Albus on support.
This is going to be an amazing matchup. A lot of people feel that EDG is kind of a raised up AHQ in a few levels in the lanes and whatnot. But like you said, if Westdoor can get going, if he's not fully banned out, then this is going to be good for AHQ.
The thing about AHQ here, and if you look at them play back in the LMS and now here at MSI, it's so much about Westdoor and Mountain in terms of the early pressure they can apply. That then leads into ganking the bottom lane over and over and getting Ant fed. That should be the strategy. So look for them to start banning out things that can stop it. Like an Alistar, like maybe an Urgot, that's hard to tower dive.
And of course, similarly, you're going to see Edward Gaming, I think, ban a lot of these AHQ mid lane champions from Westdoor, the Zed going away, things like this, the big individual playmakers. And it surprised me somewhat that AHQ chose blue side for their game 2 and game 4. They're not opting into a counter pick for Westdoor as much as hoping to get first pick themselves. You're seeing multiple bans come through from EDG. This leads me to think first pick Rek'Sai, get the early aggressive jungle away from Mountain and get Clear Love on one.
Mountain has been so good at ganking early on, and we saw the kill participation. The analyst desk showed it, how active he is in the early game. If you ban Gragas and first pick the Rek'Sai, he's left to play Java, and if you look at like the standard picks for him. So with them even banning here, they're respecting Clear Love as well, who's had a fantastic showing on Rek'Sai.
Kalista pickup as well for Deft wasn't something that continuously was played by him throughout the season, but he showed up all-star status in a 15-1-10 game already up against Fnatic on that. So with that first pick going over, Ziv now looking possibly to Maokai in the top. It's been Maokai Gnar for him, back and forth.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of Maokai today from him. It's so good to set up these TP ganks with the Maokai, where you just TP down to this bottom lane, instantly dive onto a target. Sejuani will be a little bit new for Mountain. Again, I'm sure he's practiced more of these meta champions. You won't have the same impact in the early game, though. That's the big difference. That's why he's still been playing Jarvan here, despite him getting nerfed a few times, just to have some good early ganks.
Yeah, now the thing is to keep in mind with AHQ Esports Club is that even though at this tournament it's all been about their early aggression and the early ganks going in the LMS playoffs, Mountain was 3-0 on the Sejuani. If they do want to go for the team fight style, that even got them here in the first place. These are worthwhile picks up. The Sejuani, I think that does get locked in. It's a pick away from Clear Love, and the big 5v5 dragon fights that got AHQ here in the first place looks like the style.
But EDG is going to get a lot of strong picks. Hecarim would be open for Koro in the top lane into this Maokai here, a matchup we've seen time and time again for himself. And also, Kalista, it's a bit of a weird story with Kalista, because back in LPL, Deft had horrible games on Kalista. It seems like he just played it, trying to show maybe force a ban with it by showing I can play it. But at MSI, he's been first picking it. He's been performing well. We have to see if we can do the same against Ant, because he has to expect a lot of pressure coming his way.
And we already heard AHQ say kind of 4 games, right? That means the first game is kind of the pitch you look at, make sure you know what the other team is doing and where their aggression is going.
Yeah.
Seems like they're going to get a lot of picks they want on the side of EDG so far. Oh, wait a minute. No. That is a lock-in. That's not a hover. That's a Thresh and a Nautilus now for EDG.
All right, so either it's a massive miscommunication for Edward Gaming or this Nautilus is going somewhere else. Now, I've seen this champion played in like every lane. I've seen top and mid Nautilus, but yeah, I think
I've seen it, I've cried, and now we're going to see it in the jungle, most likely, for them. I think Nautilus jungle is such a risky pick because your early game, I mean, your damage is so low for a jungler. So when you get into these early ganks and early skirmishes, all you really offer is a whole lot of CC. The new Nautilus out as well will max his E typically. So you don't have the W damage you normally had. So I'm not too sure about this one, but it's a team fighting pick.
I actually do think the E damage is fairly high. I have a friend I play rank 5s with a lot who plays a ton of jungle Nautilus, and his actual damage
fairly high.
Diamond Delo. And it's fairly high. I think he has a decent damage output. I put the footprint similar to Sejuani. The engage is a bit slower, granted, but we'll see how it pans out. More engage for the bot lane, though. AHQ is still looking to make team fights happen, and they've still got a lot of playmaking potential in the bot lane as well. Keep in mind, the Twisted Fate of Westor is still left open at this point. This would be, I think, a very likely pick to complement the rest of this team for AHQ here. A lot of team fights available.
Really depends on what the mid lane pick will be for EDG, because we know the Fizz is there as well. Zed was banned away, despite Westor. You know, he played a few times. This is one of the champions he's known for, but Zed is not that great in the current meta. I feel like there's other picks he's had more impact on if you look at the last few weeks, but that's the first ban, obviously, for EDG. Hecarim, I wouldn't be surprised. We talked about it before here. It is such a good pick for Koro because it allows him to be a big carry. And this guy has been so good up in the top lane for EDG all split long. And when you run a heavy engage composition like AHQ, it is very easy for the other team to flank on you because you're obviously going to run straight at EDG. So if there's a ward on the side, look for Koro to teleport in, and then you just destroy the enemy AD carry.
That was an 11-0-9 Koro the first time they faced AHQ Esports Club. So I'm sure Ziv wants to get a bit of that revenge back for himself as well. And now what will Westor be able to round out this composition with?
And we can really see EDG here, what they're doing. Cassiopeia as well. Yes, okay, you can land a stun on her because she doesn't really have any mobility to escape that. But if you miss it, her ulti is going to stop you when you run straight at her. So she can survive fairly well. You can build a few tanky items. You obviously get the tear, you fully stack it, you have that extra shield from it. And then you simply buy time with the rest of your lineup. You got the Kalista jumping backwards, you got Box from a Thresh, you got the E obviously from Nautilus to just kite and wait for Koro to come with that teleport, and then you simply collapse on AHQ.
Well, we'll see if they can collapse on AHQ, because it looks like AHQ wants to collapse back onto Edward Gaming as well. Pawn smartly looking at Cleanse right now for a Summoner Spell in the mid lane, but AHQ has 1.5 million ways to start team fights out. Honestly, in almost all these lanes right here, Edward Gaming fairly similarly, a lot of engaged power, but a gigantic front line for the twin carries of Pawn and Deft to just chunk damage out from back.
And AHQ has so many ways of starting tower dives. They got the tanks who can stand there. They have all the instant CC to lock them down. They have the Twisted Fate porting from the mid lane. They used this early in this tournament here, and Westor would sacrifice his own lane just to keep ganking the top lane where they were trying to shut down a Cassiopeia. He can do the same here in terms of ganking the side lanes and just start tower diving left and right.
Well, the teams have been locked in. There were thoughts that both of these teams would face impedances on the way here, that Ziv had to go to military training and they wouldn't have time to train. Pawn wasn't feeling well. Both teams have overcome anything that was put in front of them and the teams to get here to the semifinals. And now we will see what they have for each other as the champs are locked in and loading onto the Rift. Make sure you head over to Twitter and start sharing your predictions. As always, tweet at LOL Esports and use either hashtag EDGWin or hashtag AHQWin. We'll be checking in periodically to see who you think will advance to the finals. These players are going to have quite a say in that here as we start Game 1. We're on the Rift.
And everyone's predictions coming into this series were that this was going to be a very bloody set of 3 to 5 games, and Champ Select is going to show us that it's probably going to be exactly what everyone is expecting. I'm glad we've got 2 people to yell about team fights here. Quick shot. Probably would have killed himself if he was the only man to yell during team fights in this one. You and me, Riv, going to have a lot of yelling, a lot of champions picked out.
I think it's safe to say when Sivir Leona is your bottom lane, it only goes one way, and that's forward for AHQ. And let's look at Mountain as well, because when he's been playing Rek'Sai, he would often do 3 camps, possibly only 1 buff, and then 2 camps beside that, and he just go straight bottom lane and start ganking. Sejuani again, she's going to be weaker in the early game compared to Rek'Sai, which we normally see for him. I wonder if he plays the same style and still just goes for all these early ganks, or we get to see him sit back a little bit more and try and farm.
Well, we'll see which style ends up working out here as the beginning starts come through. You're seeing Ann with a very safe opening. Steelback already took notes on that one. Mountain hopping around. Ziv also with some early safe wards to watch for the invades. Edward Gaming actually all piled into their own jungle. Didn't find an invade happen. Looks like just battle lines and really no actual deep vision for either side, and they're going to have to blind pick their lanes.
Playing it very safe in the start. AHQ is a team that normally doesn't lane swap too much because they want to keep Ann and Albis on the bottom side for some dragon pressure. They play a lot around these dragons here in the early game, and obviously also for this ganking power they can have where you set it up with your support. So they're going to take this lane matchup. It is not an easy one for AHQ. They're going to be pressured a lot in the early game, and they just have to survive until Mountain is ready to start ganking, or maybe Twisted Fate hits level 6.
Keep those wards up, figure out Clear Love's pathing through the jungle. He's definitely going to try and be in your face, maybe even on this Nautilus early. We will have to see. Bottom side, we see the Gromp's going to be helped, and the Krugs as well to the other side. But no, the lane swap actually came out quite late there. EDG is going to get free side to the top.
So EDG deciding to swap it up top side. I'm not sure they were expecting AHQ to be there and just want to try and counter swap it for themselves.
I think it's very likely they didn't come in to freeze the lane. They didn't do Gromp first. EDG just was hoping to dodge all the wards and be like, surprise, we're here. Oh, crap. And AHQ, I think, getting lanes that they would rather have on this one. Thresh grid against Leona, Callista grid against Sivir.
Really, really good for AHQ then. Not the end of the world for someone like Koro because he's running Smite on Hecarim. We see like the European Hecarims like Huni who runs Ignite for the more early to mid game pressure. He likes to go Smite though. For Koro, it's more the skirmish saber, it's the late game scaling. Right. And it does help now in these lane swaps with the double jungling, even when you start doing some camps on your own.
Very nice by Mako, trying to be a little bit troublesome here. See what he can get out of this. Once they tag the red, though, if it goes up, they are going to know of his presence.
And he's already got friends coming in. Exactly. It's going to be 3 versus 2 up in this jungle. Mountain and Ziv going to be there and in a very sad party in this one. They know.
There's the hook onto Ziv. This is going to be a fast first blood. Mountain still trying to focus on that red buff as much as he can, hoping it was only a small skirmish, but then 2 more members of EDG pop out.
Really good read from AHQ, though, with Mako moving in to just spot it. He knew that the bottom lane from HQ on the bottom side, so there wouldn't be enough members to collapse on him. He could even play it safe and just back away in case he had found someone too early. Albis now will be spotted. HQ already swapped into top side to make sure Ziv can get some farm on here because the wave is already pushing in.
And it's a 2 versus 4. Ziv right now isolated as a 1v3. Mako takes the first turret shot. Early flash from Ziv trying to get away. Koro is low, has no escape. They're going to trade one back, but Ziv will also fall. Both top laners dead. And now Mountain's in a really bad spot. Flashes in, gets some depth with the snipe. 3-1 EDG.
3-1 for EDG, and such a good start from taking that red buff, pushing in the top lane as well, saying, we're gonna stop you from even getting to that tower. Only the Maokai was standing there. You saw Albis, he was already zoned away, so they could take the first kill. Yes, traded 1-for-1, but at least get a second one after. Denied all the farm as well. That's the big deal. This Maokai is being set very far behind already.
And of course, Koro not being set behind at all. He got 2 assists during that one. He's already down into the lane 1v1ing a Sivir, which is not a hard matchup for this Hecarim overall. And meanwhile, a lot of denial, of course, had gone down towards Ziv.
Yeah, because HQ didn't get a freeze in the bottom lane, seeing as they were doing Gromp or helping with the Gromp, but then walked down to the lane. So he was pushing into the tower. And when you've just seen so many members on top side, you know you can safely teleport down. It's only going to be a one-on-one, and had not managed to bounce the wave on the tower. He's going to try and do it. Now you can see how he just grouped up most of the minions to hit one of them and just try and sit back and see if he can deny something for Koro, but he's already on 18 CS and 2 assists.
And it's left Pawn to hang out mid lane, have fun. 33-20 in that CS against Westdoor. He's been a little back and forth with the damage and figuring out, should I go top to help the team, should I not? It's been a lot of options for AHQ here to be pulled back and forth in the early part of the game.
And what's so smart as well from EDG is in lane swaps against the likes of a Leona, if you push in the wave, you force her to recall, go up and help the top laner, or go for a dive herself. Because there's no top laner to dive on the bottom lane. She has to go up and help the Maokai, and then she can't roam, which is something she does so well in the early game. So you basically freeze her right there as a melee support. She's not really helping a whole lot when it comes to Ziv and farming. So they completely nullify the early game.
Yeah, sometimes Leona lanes these awkward sort of swap 2-on-2s. There's actually a lot of kill pressure there. Old Jax is a really good example of one, just someone who had a ton of damage and the gank pressure was great, but you've got a Sejuani jungle, not a good ganker early game, and Maokai, honestly, pretty low damage threat here. Like, good luck turning this fight around. They're just going to let Ziv take a bunch of damage. He might even die for this one.
The Ren's going to be there. A few more hits, not going to be enough in the end, but this is going to be tough for AHQ to get anything they want out normal game or early game normally. They love to do dragons, and that's not even on the chart for the next five or so minutes.
No, they're going to have to simply move this Leona back to the bottom lane and then have Mountain come down if they want to take a dragon. Give up that top lane because it's already lost. You're not gaining anything by staying up there with your support because you're going to lose the 2v2. Slowly but surely your tower will go down. And we've already seen ClearLove as well saying, well, I'm winning, or my team is winning mid lane, we're winning top lane. I'm just going to walk into your jungle and start placing a few wards, spot everything that's going on, and you won't be able to do anything.
Edward Gaming is crushing this lane swap, absolutely. More hooks come in. Pawn is also winning the 1v1 against Westor. This could nearly be a kill, actually, as the Petrifying Gaze comes out. Westor down to 400 health in this one. And just down the line, Edward Gaming absolutely dominating the lane swap from the buff steal early on in the game to the fights afterwards. EDG crushing the early game.
And that's something they absolutely repaired from their playoffs in the LPL.
AHQ has to go for a fight.
Turn them down in some of their games.
Wow!
Gets hit up there. Mountain now trying to come in as well to get a little more crowd control on. Elvis has already routed Mako for his escape here. He flashes on. Does he have the Daybreak shield? Good hit by ClearLove to get the passive stun off. It's still a skirmish before the turret, and that means Mako goes down, but ClearLove will make it out.
So what was a horrible situation for AHQ before, where they simply were losing out in every single lane in this lane swap, quickly turned into 2 kills. I'm not sure how Mako did manage to flay back Albus here. It was just Deft staying too far forward and therefore getting engaged on. Big mistake from EDG up there in the top lane. Had they just played it out safely, they would have just gotten stronger and stronger. I mean, compare the two top laners, 45 CS, solo XP from one guy, and a Maokai is trying to share with 2 other people and barely getting anything.
Well, AHQ is doing what AHQ normally does. Okay, it didn't work the first time. We're going to keep trying to gank this lane over and over again. It seems it's not they're ganking for but just ganking wherever the enemy AD carry is. And finally, this one works out. They tie up the scoreline in kills, but you see a 1,000 gold difference, keep in mind, just from this massive disparity in the mid and top lane for EDG.
And now AHQ, as we talked about before, what they could do was simply swap the Leona down to this bottom lane and try and have some pressure down here towards the dragon as well. But they're already behind in XP, except for if you look at the 280 carries. Top lane Ziv has just hit level 5 for himself.
To me, that's actually okay, though. Level 7, Boomerang Blade BF Sword. You know, Deft got some Berserkers, but if he's getting stunned, who cares what movement speed you've got? So I think there is some kill pressure if there's an outplay against Mako.
Definitely is in the bottom lane
and
for AHQ. That should be the focus as well. Seeing as Koro is already so far ahead up in this top lane, you can't really expect too much from the Maokai. So yeah, bottom lane is where the kill pressure can be, and that will also lead into this dragon that AHQ wants early on.
It is worth pointing out, Deft still has his flash on Callista, saved his summoner spells on his prior death. So this is a very scary lane. Deft, if he goes past River, just dies to Twisted Fate, unless there's a really good lantern from Mako. And it's going to be, you know, up to EDG outplaying. You can see Mako playing towards the back. But one misstep is a kill for AHQ and a dragon afterwards.
So we have seen this before with rushing Hurricane on Callista. I've never been a big fan of it because you have great AD ratios, so getting that early BF sword is so important for your early trading. This is simply going to be more about having early wave clear and start shuffling out lanes. He's obviously maxing his E, so there will be some damage from the stacks, but he needs quite a lot of them in the early game, and that's very risky trades when there's a Twisted Fate on the map, when there's a teleport from a Maokai who you know likes to go bottom lane. If you have to sit and take long trades with the enemy AD carry, you risk getting killed by these globals.
And it's just about time for that Dragon ClearLove trying to get in and force this ward out. You can see Mount coming around the side. Don't know if they're going to be able to get much out of this. With the 6 from Westor, I would have figured the TP bottom would have activated their first Dragon attempt, but it looks like the party's going to be in the mid lane. Westor only moves a few thousand units there, and he may get hit up. He's forced right out of the fight immediately. That's going to be ClearLove going down. Koro's forced to ult out of the fight there, and EDG actually did not want.
Oh, very good setup from AHQ. Both teams are trying to set up some pings. Might not be over yet. Mako is going in.
Mountain very low in health. The box comes out as well. The re-engage on the left-hand side towards Pod. Albus just trying to buy time. He will sacrifice himself for the team as Koro, now being chased down, will not take the wild cards. Gambit would be ashamed, but EDG walking away from this one, 1-1 in kills overall. AHQ burning all their ults for the first one. No fight left in them.
He's got the kill on Clearlove before here. Both teams really trying to get some pink ward control. The ward you saw from AHQ is simply to allow Westor moving from the lane down and then teleport to this bottom lane. You saw the pink just behind the blue buff to make sure no wards would spot him. But that's now going to be cleared out. And EDG has taken full control of this river with their own ward. So they're the ones now who can start looking for picks around the dragon, who can roam from the bottom lane and up, and obviously try and spot when this Sejuani is coming. There's only one way for Mountain to really gank now, and that's going to be jumping over this small wall into the river and then go for it. So as long as EDG keeps decent vision there, they should be okay.
Well, prioritizing those mobility boots for Mako. They don't have the double sight stone just yet, but are keeping that vision where they need it so far. 4-4 on the kill score. Just about that 1,000 gold lead still, as we have yet to see a turret or a dragon go down. Pretty incredible to see for both of these teams that love to get those early objectives.
We're going to have to wait for AHQ to get their ultis back.
Yeah.
Or we might see the next move from them. They're obviously a team in the early game very ulti dependent on setting up these ganks with the likes of a Twisted Fate. Well, Leona has now hit level 6 for Albis. Mountain will have his own ready as well.
Well, it's worth pointing out, though, that ultis are not, it looks like, with no teleports up for the top laners, that big advantage they've got up in the top lane with Koro.
Sun was in his eyes.
Yeah, okay. Misses that one. EDG going to get some control back, but without teleport, the top lane advantage here doesn't really mean too much for team fights, ganks, or dragons.
But what means a lot is these pink wards from EDG in the river. They spotted Mountain coming in there, so they started moving from the lane already before anything even happened. They keep denying vision from AHQ, and they want to contest everything. When you have Cassiopeia in the mid lane, she's so strong in these one-on-one fights, so you can always move from your lane and start fighting them if they want to kill your pings. And it is a Chinese team after all. You don't kill their pings.
So both teams approaching Dragon. Let's put this into perspective. What's the perfect engage from EDG? What are they looking for?
Well, for EDG, really, they don't even need to engage. That's the beautiful part for them. They can wait for HQ to try and start a fight by them popping, Sivir ulti, Leona, everything. And then you disengage back. You have clinch on your Cassiopeia. You're building early magic resist. And you wait for Koro to get a good flank with his TP home guard. And that's how you simply turn the fight around. And AHQ, they just have to be able to lock down one target and focus it. Every single member has to kill that one guy. If we see Cassiopeia, Kalista stay alive, that can be enough for EDG to win the fight.
And speaking of Cassiopeia staying alive, though, just on tier and just a Negatron cloak does not make her durable yet, but Cleanse is just now coming back up. The window where Destiny was up and Cleanse was not, that one's now closed, or the door, if you will. Koro still without teleport, though. These 4-on-4s, I think this is a window that AHQ should use, being that Ziv is so far behind Koro. Koro's got his challenging smite already. He's got the home guard boots. This is this 1.5 minute window where things can happen for AHQ. Solar Flare is back up. All the tools are here. Mountains towards the bot lane.
Yeah.
EDG's warding control is so darn good that they keep spotting him.
Look at the two wards here on the bottom side, one near the Gromp and one just around the tri-bush behind the tower of AHQ. That's to spot Mountain coming from the only way he really can, unless he's running straight through the lane itself to try and set up a gank. But there's double flash obviously for EDG in the bottom lane. And if you see a Leona randomly firing a ulti right on you, you play it safe and you flash away from it.
And EDG is definitely playing this one for the map control. They do not want to give this first dragon up. They're sitting across their team on just about 5,700 gold in their pockets that they go back and spend between the lanes. 2,500 of that is on their AD carry.
Wow.
It's going to be the kill on Westor. They relieve this pressure. Might be a little bit easier to back and spend all that cash money.
Who needs teleport? We just walk down the river. Meanwhile, team fight on the bot side. Steph gets stunned up. That will be a kill coming towards Ann. Now Mako's got to be careful. Still no TPs available. Not even Destiny with Westor dead, but a 1-for-0. The re-engage forced the flash from Mako. AHQ managed to turn one back around.
And Def dying once again here. Had flash ready. Still managed to get locked down by Albis and Ann. This is very important for AHQ that they can keep getting some kills in this bottom lane. We know they like to play around the AD carry in these late game team fights. People talk about how EDG's mid laner is a bit of a distraction. We can say the same for AHQ's because late game team fights, it's Ann's time.
And Ann right now is going to get the first global objective of the game with Dragon 1 on the field. Looks like a bot lane kill was all they needed. Def holding most of the team's kills, most of the team's gold. He's off the map, and the EDG not going to be able to fight much of anything. Hurricane plus BF Sword plus almost level 9 for Deft will make him very strong, but now there's no team fights to go for EDG.
Let's do this again.
Yeah, let's see what happens. There's obviously so much mobility for EDG's bottom lane already with Kalista jumping around. There is flash as well for Deft. So the first one he dodges, And how does he get locked down? Just walks into melee range of Albus, gets stunned, and instantly locked down. Big mistake from Deft here. All he had to do, honestly, at this point, because they were winning so hard in mid and top lane, was just play safe and sit and farm. Because when you die, that's where you open up a Dragon as well for AHQ, and that's exactly what they wanted.
EDG's also been avoiding Ann's lane. Not avoiding, but going towards the top, going towards Ziv. Now Ann gets a few kills of his own just because of the skirmish in the bottom lane, and he is one of the guys for AHQ, besides Westdoor, that's going to put the game on his back. Could start getting that silver kill.
I mean, in terms of winning team fights and winning Dragon fights, I mean, Westdoor can make the plays, he can start the fights, and he might even get the picks and as a result win those fights. But in team fight output, it is entirely on Ann's shoulders. If he gets picked off, there is no team fight for AHQ. If he has no gold, there is no team fight for AHQ. Starting the game 1-0-1, starting the game with good CS numbers. Ann's in a good place so far. AHQ pretty much playing according to their book, and yet EDG still far ahead from their lane control, from their CS leads.
From the lane swap.
And exactly, that gigantic early game lane swap lead.
They're kind of resting on those leads, if you will.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, they have great scaling in terms of the Cassiopeia and the Hecarim, so EDG is not in a position where they necessarily have to force a lot. Now Mountain, he tried to clear a few wards.
Whoa!
You don't do that.
Pawn just wanted to shout. He was happy about the situation. Mountain looked like he could get out of this one. No, the Fangs get into the backside of the boar, and they move Mountains.
We've definitely seen Mountain have a weaker early game impact compared to what we saw when he played Rek'Sai, even when he's picked up Jarvan in the past. He's trying to clear out some of these wards around the mid lane, but you can't do it when you already lost tower. And the Twisted Fate is sitting at the tier 2, trying to wave clear himself. You're on your own here. And the Cassiopeia and Nautilus combo with so much CC and single target damage will take you down every single time.
So as we cross into the mid game, about a 3,000 gold lead for EDG. Dragon or not, this laning phase has been pretty happy for them overall. Pawn, we said maybe it was Deft who was the big carry, but Pawn right now is having the highest impact and the highest difference between him and his opponent. 40 minion lead right here, despite TF being such a great wave clearer as time goes on. Pawn going to be an absolute crusher in team fights, for lack of a better word. Something that has to be kept in mind. You mentioned, Officio, the scaling advantages. I tend to agree. TF is going to take a long time to catch up in terms of damage up, but I feel like around 4 items in, TF starts really destroying people, but that's, of course, a very long way away. There's going to be like a 15-minute window where EDG wins in damage output.
It's not like AHQ has a bad scaling themselves. You got the double tank. Even Leona late game is very strong, and you got some decent damage. The problem is, how do you stop Koro from just constantly pushing up the top lane? Maybe you can just flash on Deft though instead of Koro.
Oh, that was a clutch lantern, but in comes more!
Here it comes, Westdoor's in, pulls the card. That's going to be Ann's kill, actually. Mako does make it out alive in that situation. Doesn't have to use any summoners because didn't have them, but very scary as AHQ starts to put their foot down here.
And we talked about how AHQ, they love to gank this bottom lane. When you have Sejuani, when you have a Twisted Fate, you set up these ganks here so effectively. Deft dying 3 times now. Has been farming okay, has been picking up a few kills, and very early QSS for him, saying, you guys got so much CC, I know I'm going to be one of the targets. You know what? Stuff's right.
He's right.
And you can see in all their builds and summoner spell choices, right? Pawn got cleanse, he's popping it almost every single fight. Westdoor rushing a Lich Bane for more of this. And now Ziv looking for a TP flank. Can they get something here?
Yeah, Westdoor ghosted into this one, so it's just wearing off as he gets into the fight. The team's actually reconsidering this one. Mountain gets hit, but then Ziv goes in. I don't know if they want this on all the same page here for AHQ. EDG recognize that, and they begin to go in. Koro gets one. Actually, that's going to be Pawn picking it up as Koro dives in with the Onslaught of Shadows. And as AHQ sees the fight, they don't want any more of it. Ann's able to pick up a retribution kill there for Ziv, but still back and forth. These guys are neck and neck all the time.
Yeah, AHQ just trying to force some fights themselves. EDG had 3 members around and managed to pick up at least 1 kill and trading 1-for-1 in total. The map is starting to open up. The outer turrets are starting to go down. This mid tower has been down for a few minutes now, and it has given a lot of time for EDG to play around the mid lane, and yet Westdoor managed to get that 1 gank on the bottom lane. Unspotted, and got a bot lane tower for it as well.
And now AHQ's big ultis are coming back up for the next team fight with Dragon in a minute. We can watch this fight one more time. Very few ults for AHQ, but they come out okay.
Yeah, so it's 4v3 here. If you look at AHQ, EDG just kiting back. We keep talking about how you can kite, especially also with a Nautilus jungle. He provides so much CC, so much AoE slow, until you single out 1 target. They do get him down. Koro will sacrifice himself, and very importantly for AHQ, picks up the kill. So after all is said and done, It is a 1-for-1 trade. So the next objective is gonna have to be this dragon. For AHQ's side, can they create a pick at first? With all this engaged, they do run. Let's see what summoners are down. No flash for Deft if they can get onto him, but he has the QSS we need to remember.
Yeah. Pretty poor target selection for AHQ. The poke not
cleanse as well. It will be tough.
Exactly. Picking someone down going to be hard. The slow turn team fight, though, going to be an interesting one to watch. Of course, 1,200 gold sunk into a Quicksilver Sash does kind of lower your damage output as an AD carry. And you got to feel like the 2-item completion Sivir is actually probably the biggest impact in this coming battle. All ultis up for AHQ. A few summoners down. EDG with a gold lead, but they're going to start Dragon first.
So seeing as EDG has no wards around this dragon here, and they know with the QSS and the cleanse, you can't just walk in and expect a fight to happen where you lock down a carry, they wisely just back away. What you need to do then is trade for the dragon for a top tower. You gotta get something when the other team invests 4 members on one side of the map. You need to be able to get something elsewhere. They are sending 2 guys top, but it's starting very late for AHQ, so suddenly EDG has now 2 options. Do we just push the bottom side of the map and say, if you go 3 top, we take either your bottom tower or your mid tower instead?
Oh, wow! A couple crits in a row, and Pawn's chunked pretty late. And Spell Shield's just enough things to stay alive, but Pawn still has ulti for a coming battle. Westor gonna play wave clear duties, pop the ulti, doesn't look at gonna open anything off this one.
Oh, right, and the flash gets out of that, goes back with the onslaught of shadows, cuts it down, and it looks like Elvis is just going to be there to be a nuisance. Koro is getting help from Clearlove here. Pawn's coming down just on the left side. They still have their bot lane in the bot lane.
This is pretty greedy.
This is going to be tough. Koro under the turret. That's not where he wanted to be. Westor is able to pick up a kill now. Mako in on the Fade's call, and he's thrown it backwards. They don't want any more under the turret. And EDG, AHQ, 1-1 there.
Wow, the hardcore dive gave away extra kill. Koro, I think, a bit too bloodthirsty on that one. EDG giving away the kill they had picked up already, but we're seeing Edward Gaming hold on very nicely against his sort of pick composition. Still holding on to the lead, still pushing turrets better.
But second time where Koro does go a little bit too ham and ends up dying after they got the first kill. We saw what EDG wanted to do, okay? You put members on top side, good. We forced something down here. First a few crits in the mid lane and dropping lower than Koro coming in. This is why playing AD carry in the current meta is not always too fun when a big Hecarim just dives you and absolutely destroys you in the very end. And Koro could just have backed away right here. You got 1 kill, try and get this bot lane tower. It's only Westor defending it. And the rest of EDG decide, no.
We're gonna kill Westor.
We need more kills.
And that doesn't go quite as well. Mako missing the hook, gonna get thrown in there. Deft, has plenty of damage output. They could nearly win this fight, but enough tank stats. Westor kites it away well enough. They clear the wave, they get minion control for that, but yeah, a bit hard to dive past undead turrets.
We're gonna have to take a look at Deft and the damage he can do in team fights. Building Hurricane against multiple tanks is very, very risky because you don't run any crits, so you don't really have a whole lot of single target damage, and you need so many spears to be effective, and it's hard to get enough down on multiple members because one guy's gonna try and always zone you out, and that's gonna be a problem for Deft if we have these straight-on fights. He will have a lot more wave clear though and fast pushing potential.
Yeah, but the Frozen Heart Rush for Ziv, first item after the Catalyst. I mean, it's really going to hurt Deft. Stun's going to land on a Mako. There is a Fate's Call though. You cannot go for the support of a Kalista. It just does not work out. Deft flashing away, of course, himself.
Look at the play. Deft flashing away so he can pull Mako to safety after AHQ once again trying to look for these picks here. Not afraid of investing multiple members on one side if they can try and go for something. They are falling further and further behind. Now, another pick may be coming.
What a pile-on. That Glacial Prison locks up 3. Mountain's coming up big in this fight. Elvis has eyes on Pawn. So does Westor, but they turn it. Clearlove very low as those two go down. Pawn and Mako now not a part of this fight as Clearlove also skirts off down the mid lane. Koro came in but was not able to help from that bottom side of the map here. EDG is starting to lose a bit of ground. And now 10-8 in favor of HQ.
And Baron's alive on the map right now with a Lich Bane, Twisted Fate as well as 2 items in the AD carry. If HQ wanted to be risky, they could go for a big objective like this. HQ not a team that cares much about Baron control. They're going to play it much more safely. Okay, I can't complain too much.
It is really great to see though AHQ, how ready they are to punish EDG when they feel a bit too greedy. There was 3 guys staying fairly far pushed up in the mid lane after you just had to spend flash in top lane, even ulti from Kalista to pull 2 guys away. And HQ has multiple ways of engaging, not just the Leona ulti. So they say, okay, you're staying 3 guys pushing up, we're gonna go for you. 2 more kills secured mid tower as well. Every time EDG makes an over-aggressive play on the map, they get punished.
And it's not like EDG has a bunch of disengaging tools. It's mostly just their flashes to get away from fights like these. So, you know, a 2-minute cooldown Sivir ulti versus a 5-minute cooldown flash, at some point these add up to EDG not having a way of getting away from the AHQ hard dive. And AHQ now only down 500 gold, but Edward Gaming going for the Baron sneak, but it's right on top of a ward. AHQ should be here in time.
This is going to be intense. I think ADG definitely going to pull off and look for the fight.
Don't want to be caught in this Baron pit, though.
They may not. There's the Righteous Glory going in. Mountain dives across. That's actually going to be rended out by Deft. Baron goes to EDG. Ziv is onto Deft, and he's not going to be able to do much, but he throws Mako to Westor. That can finalize him. They both go down, and the Onslaught of Shadows comes through.
Edward Gaming looking to clean up this fight now as Ziv's got no damage left. All the carries are gone. A 4-for-2 fight plus a Baron with a triple kill for Pawn.
And despite AHQ having a ward on the Baron, Kalista, Cassiopeia, they destroyed double smite as well. EDG had so many ways of burning down this Baron in time. They got it, won the team fight as well. It could have been so tricky if they were caught in there against all this CC from AHQ, but just never managed to get in time. Albus, he's still running away.
They outplayed it.
Where are you going?
Pawn using his time wisely. Quickly heads to the mid lane. Knows everybody's in the ring around the Rosie game right now. After the triple kill, able to pick up a turret as well for himself, sitting on 2,000 gold. Let's see this again.
Yeah, just look how fast EDG can burn down the Baron, and then you have Cleanse on Deft, you have Mikhails as well for Mako for the next stun coming in if you look at Westor here. So 2 stuns now. Not gonna call it wasted, but cleansed away at least, and EDG managed to just clean house. Only one of the carries is being targeted, that's Deft at this point. The rest of EDG feeling safe, can win the fight.
Ooh.
And it's fun to watch them because they normally don't care about dragons. EDG is like all about, we need that one Baron. If you make a mistake, we will grab the Baron instantly, and then we are so good now at pushing our advantage on the map. And that's typically how they win games, just get such a big lead doing that Baron buff.
And AHQ, one of their fatal flaws is fighting dragons. They should not. 5,000 gold deficit, Baron buff on 3 people of Edward Gaming, and AHQ happy to stick around. There's a giant wave toppling that could be pushed, but they want to fight for Dragon right here. Edward Gaming going to take it down very soon.
Here comes another Destiny. Deja vu, but on the other side of the map, who's going to take this one? It is going to be Dragon. Deft once again rends it. Ziv is going to pick up Pawn. No triple kill for him this time. And to the back line, and cannot keep himself alive long enough. And it looks like EDG will just start to trample down on the members of AHQ after taking the Dragon and controlling the fight nicely.
And we talked about how EDG, they're not looking to engage. They want AHQ to start the fight.
They want to react to it.
Yes, then we back away a little bit, and suddenly Koro just appears from the side, from the flank, and he dives onto someone from AHQ in the back line. And that's how you win the fight. There's so many defensive options for EDG to stay alive long enough that at least only one that carries will. But now look at this here. EDG is kiting backwards at first, Westor even coming down, and then look at the top here, near the blue buff. Koro jumps in from behind, looks at Anne, and he just basically zones him out from the start. We'll probably take him down with clear up as well, while the rest of EDG,
he says, I gotta go.
They just keep dancing around, and yeah, you can flash the wall, so can Heckler.
And poor Ann right there, he's not just doing the right thing, and it's so impressive how much durability AHQ actually has in this fight. So much time was spent, so many ults burned trying to knock down Pawn, and while they eventually did, they just let the slow burn of what Cassiopeia had for damage and just Deft with the Hurricane Bloodthirster just removing people. The kills Crucible, a big deal, absolutely. The cleanse, everything else, just keeping EDG alive long enough that that hard engage isn't quite killing them.
If you really think of the positioning on that fight, it kind of just turns your brain around. EDG were in the pit, they got Dragon, and then somehow Ann was in the pit, forced in. These guys, like you said, able to just kite it out to Fischio and bring the fight into their favor. Throughout the beginning part of the game, it was very neck and neck, but the dominoes would always fall in favor of EDG. They were getting the turrets. They were pushing towards AHQ's base. AHQ's only had that last surge, but it looks like it's been stopped again.
AHQ have managed to get kills when EDG spread out on the map. The last few minutes they've stayed together. When they were focusing Baron, Dragon, they were staying as a unit. So when the fight happened, AHQ only managed to take down one of the carries. It wasn't enough to win the fight. If EDG goes back to splitting up, that's where the Twisted Fate, that's where the Maokai TP will start making, or possibly making plays for AHQ. We can see EDG here. 2 guys on top side, 2 guys in the mid lane. So there are now options for AHQ to suddenly go for someone. No cleanse either at the moment. And we go back to grouping.
Yep, Edward Gaming, they want to knock down these 2-2 turrets, put a lot of pressure on them. They know they are the stronger team, and so far it's been hard for AHQ to start fights successfully. Top lane tier 2. Wave cleared away safely by Sivir. That push isn't quite going to work, but it forces Ziv to recall back and go defend the top lane. So split pushing not really getting a lot done for AHQ. Of course, a split up map would be great for Twisted Fate. Edward Gaming not falling victim to that. They are very cognizant of the team comp they are fighting against. They've done so well to survive all these Twisted Fate ganks from West Door. Stay grouped.
Look at the boots upgrade here on a Cassiopeia who doesn't run Ghost because you are forced to go for Cleanse.
Yep.
You now get the 12% speed up instead when you cast an ability to somewhat make up for the lack of Ghost and give you that extra mobility, kiting potential once again. Because it's also a very aggressive build. Going Death Cap when you know so many guys are going to dive onto you. No Rylai's coming in yet, no Hourglass.
You have control of the fight, and now this armor they've produced is like you have an AP AD carry, right? You can just keep spitting out damage as fast as that guy is. No RNG to worry about. You're doing the damage.
You're relying on your shield and the fact you have Cleanse and Mikhail's to hopefully keep you alive.
Wow, he even got lifesteal, or not lifesteal, but spell vamp.
What is?
And he's not going all the way for Will of the Ancients. I mean, he's just stopping on Revolver here. That could have been a cooldown item afterwards.
Definitely thought that was going to be a faster Void Staff.
Yeah, but
get spell vamp.
Merc treads some spell vamp like he's probably sitting on the 130 magics or something here for Pawn. 105. I guess when he has an Aegis nearby, it'll be 125. Then I'm close again. But
if you think about it, if you look at the start of AHQ, they haven't stacked a whole lot of magic resist. No locket for them. If you look at Mountain in the jungle, it's gone for Warmox instead, so that's more HP.
Yeah.
You don't really need a Void Staff at this point yet. I mean, there are other items you can get, but honestly, I do think Void Staff will still be the best, just because it is so important in the late game.
Right.
But clearly he's valuing getting some Spell Vamp and maybe again a bit more survivability. He knows he's going to be targeted at first.
There's a little bit of beef they have to work with that'll help in the kiting to stay alive. It all works out, and that speed synergy from the Fury Boots as well. See if that comes into play big in these ones if he does have to kite even more. Minute on to Dragon. This game has kind of hit a lull here. Clear Love going with the Iron. You can see his gigantic Nautilus now with that Elixir.
well, you can see what happens when the enemy team is full of amazing wave clear champions. Sivir and Twisted Fate, two of the absolute best in their roles. So turret sieging is honestly a bit of a futile choice here for Edward Gaming, so they're playing the objective game. They've spent the last few minutes prepping this Baron. It's up now, and look at all the wonderful blue wards around the map that lets EDG crush this one. 2 smites and the Callista. I don't care who gets it, someone in EDG gonna kill that Baron.
We saw how fast they took it down before, and they didn't hesitate. They just started instantly, despite even having a ward in the pit from AHQ. Wasn't even pinged out by EDG. But yeah, they can't really siege. They can't really split push either because of all the engage from AHQ. So very tough. It has to be around this Baron here. You get up the Baron buff, you buff up these minions, and then you can maybe get a few hits on a tower, or you have to just force a tower dive straight onto AHQ. But that's the risky one with so much CC. So it is a bit tricky for EDG closing out the game. They want AHQ to move out of the base and take another 5-on-5 team fight. You need a ping there, guys. Normally you would need a ping.
Well, the Destiny is going to be locked in on this one. It's only for Vision at this point. Albus is at the front door of this engagement, and he's going to be the one that's hooked first.
And he's got a lot of armor and MR, but the damage output still coming through from Deft. Will there be any kind of re-engage? It's a 1-for-0. Sivir he popped to go backwards, actually. So much for that lane only going one way. These guys are running for dear life. Clearlove poked down a little bit, but AHQ, no illusions of winning this battle whatsoever.
Yeah.
But they re-engage up on a Koro anyway. Ziv waiting around. This is a 5v4. Keep in mind, there's the dive onto and he's trying to cut out with the Ruin King, but there's so much pain coming through. Koro can't quite make it happen. Mako flashes, can't reach it. Mountain, however, is caught by Pawn. Ready to deal the damage. Cleanse on up. One hit from Dead Mountain. Barely lives.
We've seen this before happen where EDG gets an early kill and then Koro just goes man mode, tries to get something else, and he ends up dying. So many low members from AHQ. EDG is back on this Baron here. They still have all the DPS they need. Just missing one smite this time.
It's going to be easy. It's not even the smiters that have gotten it. Deft has gotten the dragons and the barons. He'll do it again. The Rend just too good, and he knows how to use it. Ziv doing what he can to place and clear wards on the way out as he watches the Baron once again go over to EDG. Dragon is alive, AHQ's first love, really. And they're going to try to get that for themselves here to prevent the 5th one from coming any faster for EDG.
That's going to work, actually. Very smart for AHQ. They've gotten a little bit more confident, I guess, as time goes on. There were moves in the SKT game yesterday where AHQ could have taken objectives and took the slow route. This time, smarter plays by AHQ, but still, they're down 9,000 gold. Edward Gaming looking great.
And that's only the second dragon. 36 minutes in for a team who normally plays around it so well. And that simply comes from losing the mid lane. They couldn't contest the wards around the dragon. They couldn't put any pressure really from Westor except for one gank down the bottom lane.
Yeah.
That's been so tough for HQ in the early game. And also the fact Mountain is not on a ganking champion. With the Sejuani. Sejuani has some decent ganks, but it's not the same as these early game junglers like Rek'Sai.
And that's what we were looking at for EDG to do, is target him a little bit with his champion picks coming into this game.
He knew it would be first picked. If HQ didn't ban it, it would have been first pick from EDG. And that's why they decided to ban the wave. But then you got to make the trade here. Do you want the Kalista then and give them the Rek'Sai? I mean, you got to be able, when you're on red side, to value how important is one pick if we can get 2 super strong picks for it.
Yeah, number 2 and 3. And number 2 and 3 here were Sejuani Maokai. And they thought, okay, we can get Clear Love off of his early game champions. He was a great Lee Sin player, great Rek'Sai player. Those were gone away. He was a great Sejuani player. Remove the team fighters too. Clear Love goes down to Nautilus in the tier list.
Yeah.
And looks all right for him.
It looks really all right for him. Just in the jungle, being harassing early with the entire team. They made sure to make it even harder for Mountain. The Destiny comes in here at the second tier as AHQ looks to stop the push.
Once again, they have good wave clear. EDG knows they can't really split up too well, especially when there's no teleport on the side of Coral. So just trying to stay around. They have to buff the minions. They will get at least the first tower down.
Whoa!
Might get engaged.
Great grab onto Ziv. He may have to stay in this one. No, he actually goes twisted advance to a minion to flash out. They want the full team to defend the base. There's the hook onto Mountain. Westor is there with a gold card as well, and they are trying to evade this fight by any means.
That's a flash and 2 ultimates, though, just to disengage from basic ability cooldowns here. I guess Mako box, but it's not really that important of a spell right here. EDG still able to keep pushing on. Baron buff still on a few members. AHQ doing what they can to remove wards from over the wall, but Edward Gaming looking to knock down an inhibitor for too long.
Very methodical in their ways this game. Like you said, Deficio, really hasn't been many initiations by them, but working off AHQ, trying to get into their face, and actually backing off on this one. Not going to go for the inhibitor turret, so again, playing it safe. A huge wave towards the bottom side of the map has caught their eye.
Coral's already there to push it in, but of course, nice awareness by AHQ to get Westor down there to clear it as well. We are, by the way, at a 4-item Twisted Fate. This is the break point where I feel TF starts to do meaningful team fight damage again, so don't be surprised if he chunks out some tanks. It is a champion that I think ADG has to go back to respecting now.
But he's running without Hourglass. So for Westor to dive onto the carries from EDG is so risky, because they can take him down in a matter of seconds. And the fact, again, they have these cleansers here to get out of his stun makes it hard for him to do a full combo with the wildcards as well. So it's very tricky for Westor to play these team fights. He might have to just sacrifice himself trying to kill someone from EDG. He's gonna have to get Hourglass if you really want to dive in.
No, I think right now their plan is kill minion waves as fast as possible, and honestly, tank killing, I guess, is doable. It's a 4-item AD carry Sivir with Blade of the Ruin King, so that damage output's actually quite good. And low cooldown wildcards are going to be at 3 seconds at this point. Yeah, that's damage output that does matter eventually. Westor, also keep in mind, stacked deck is a pretty good ability. TF ends up having some decent damage. It's no Cassiopeia, but a champion I don't want to underrate too terribly much in this game. Either way, Edward Gaming have not gotten a lot done off their 2 Baron buffs so far. They've not knocked down an inhibitor turret. They've still got bot lane tier 2 to go. And Dragonfire have nowhere in sight either, so bashing their heads against this wave clear team has been difficult for EDG to make progress.
We'll get a few hits on tower here, so just timing the wave. As long as Westor isn't there with Anne, AHQ won't be able to instantly clear it. So by him sitting mid, at least the last outer turret is gone for EDG. And they might just look, if they don't feel like they get a good opportunity to potentially get a kill or maybe even a dive if HQ is split up, then they might just wait for another Baron and keep playing around them, hope that HQ is walking out of the base into a 5-on-5 team fight.
Well, HQ really relying on that Destiny, not to get into place, but really show what EDG is doing and how the AHQ can get around them and route them for the fight. Albus picking up the Banshee's Veil now so he can stay alive longer in the initiations here that AHQ wants if they can get the right one.
If you want magic resist as a support, just get a locket.
Right.
I mean, you might as well buff up the rest
Get a
of your
Banner of
team.
Command.
Banner of Command.
You've got a locket from Nautilus, so remove the TF wave clear option, promote some minions, make even more pressure for HQ to deal with.
Really don't like supports going for greedy defensive items for themselves. You're not that important as a support.
Oh, be careful.
Koro, he's important.
He's going for Ann right now. Is the peel going to be strong enough? Burns someone to heal. There's the ulti in as well. Ann getting chunked out by the Cinder Hulk. And another stun comes through. The flash of the wall. Koro, though, survives this engage. And in comes the rest of the team. Not the cavalry, ironically. But Edward Gaming still pushing through AHQ out of the base. Dragon in 30 seconds. Baron in 1 minute. Map control remains with EDG.
So now AHQ moved out of the base. We instantly saw what EDG wanted to do. Didn't get any kills for it. So as we mentioned, we might be in for another Baron.
It is a big cooldown off this field, though. That's the only global TP that Edward Gaming has. Twisted Fate one-shots waves at this point. He is going for Zhonya's or Luden's next, so he's going to get even more scary as time goes on. But AHQ is a team that used to love doing 1-1-3 split pushes, and that's actually a tool they can use the next 5 minutes. As EDG takes down Dragon, only number 3 right now.
And then straight over to the Baron itself for them. And AHQ needs to make a decision here. Do you want to risk being caught in a team fight by trying to stop this Baron? Or do you want to give them another one and just sit back in your base and keep wave clearing? I almost feel like you have to try and take the fight because these buffed up minions are the ones that make it tricky for your Twisted Fate, for your Sivir to constantly clear them out. And that will buy time for EDG to break in the base. But at the same time, if you cannot get the right engage, because you have no wards at the moment, you're just going to have the Twisted Fate ulti for vision, and they're going in for it. They want to fight.
Oh, they put their foot down immediately. Albus tries to go through. The Zenith Blade misses. They're on to Koro, but he dives back out of the fight. Westor's on the side and Ann's on the back, but they're not able to deliver any damage right now. That Boomerang Blade, however, flying through. Mountain gets the first one. Def's going to pick up a kill. Onto Westor. They are picking up the kills they need. The HP bars of EDG are falling, but a second guess here by Mountain and Ann may have given EDG the edge on the fight. Pawn is not going to try it again. Koro and Albus back and forth as he cuts down Albus finally. And what a scattered fight. These are going to be lasting forever.
That was absolutely tense. A 10,000 gold deficit. Oh God, Mountain's going to die for this one.
Or they're
and the heal from Koro is going to be enough. There's the ace on the backside, a 2 for 0.
Watching Koro play is very, very fun. The dodge there on the Sejuani dash. And once again, AHQ, they just pile on so much CC to the backline of EDG, but they couldn't lock down 2 carries at once.
I don't know if they have the mana for this. Pawn's out and Koro's
he's completely out of mana.
I don't know if they win this. I really don't.
Come on, Baron. Show us what you can do.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh. Oh.
I don't think that triggers anything in the store, but it was still pretty awesome.
Good guy, Baron. Keeping AHQ in the game.
Koro once again going too ham.
All right, let's see. Yeah, he has to die every single time. Engage first. Cleanse being used. Let's see what the rest of AHQ is going to. Can they get onto this back line? There's a beautiful ulti from Mountain onto 4 members. But they simply can't target out both these carries here in the very end. I believe it is Def going down. He jumps forward very aggressively.
He wants Westor.
Wants Westor down. Ends up dying for it. And here it looked okay for AHQ. The Cassiopeia and the Hecarim though, they're still alive. And in the end, EDG back in the middle and gets the last few kills before Baron joins the fight.
See, after this, I was kind of like, all right, they're just going to kind of farm it out in mid, and Koro's just like, man mode.
Koro has to die every single time.
And he's still dead, so AHQ starting up on a Baron. There is no teleport. This is incredibly risky, but it's a play they're going to make. TP and Destiny pop to engage onto EDG. Indoors Pawn they go. Is it going to be enough? The stun lands as well. Sarah's shields will still be down, but a massive re-engage. The spell vamp is so massive, and in comes Koro. It's a 1 for 0, and out goes AHQ. 3 kills going to be picked up for this one.
The McHale's right onto Pawn immediately, lets him run rampant. Double kills all around for EDG as Koro finally gets back. I think it's going to be hard for him to die on this one, but it looks like they're actually going to be pushing base.
I like this here. Go for the base because you had so much trouble breaking into it with all the wave clear from AHQ. Open it up now. You have minion waves as well.
They can win.
There's 40 seconds. You might just be able to finish the whole game.
And here they go. Koro's going to be tanking this turret. He is beyond tanky. 30 seconds on the respawn. There's the mini wave. He's even got a cannon. There is no way I feel like Mountain could actually clear this wave properly. And here comes the game-winning push.
He says, follow me, come this way, not the Nexus turrets. What a game one from EDG. AHQ said it would be 4. They have their chance now. EDG takes game 1.
What a great controlled game by Edward Gaming. It is difficult to play against a Twisted Fate as good as Westdoor, to not get picked off, to maintain your gold lead, even in a big split-up game. You don't even have siege potential. And EDG had to play for the Dragons, for the Barons, slow and methodical, and they did it.
2 things started the whole thing for EDG. The lane swap was so heavily in their favor. They got very, very far ahead. Koro got free farm down in the bottom lane one-on-one. Then the mid lane pressure where they got down the early tower. They had some good fights defending these wards. Mid-game, they were splitting up a few times. AHQ really showed what they could do with this combi, how good they are at finding the picks. But then it stopped once EDG decided, now we group, we focus on objectives like Baron, like Dragon, and you have to come team fighters straight on.
I loved the early, I wouldn't say adaptation, but the call from EDG. We saw them with Clearlove down at the Krugs. They were ready to help him do that, right? And then they went up top. Right after they did their side of the jungle camp, they just took out Mountain in his jungle, took his red, and made his life hard. We're going to see what the analyst desk has to say on this and get their take on Edward Gaming's first win of the series.
Thank you, Riv. Not to be outdone by our first series of the day. Both of these teams just coming out hard in the beginning, slapping each other around. I mean, this was a bloodbath of a game.
It was reminiscent to game 1 where both these teams faced off. In the beginning, it was kind of even. You know, we could see how AHQ could make a comeback, and then eventually EDG just burst through the gates and rolls them over.
Yeah, I think a lot of this game came down to pick Banphase once again as well, and I really have to question the TF pick here. It was picked into a Cassiopeia, and as soon as you have cleanse on the Cassio, you just win the matchup. You absorb the first yellow card as it is, flash forward, get the stun down. Pawn even mucked up the level 6 quite substantially. He missed the QE and then just ulted for fun and wandered away, but he just still had way too much pressure in the lane.
Crumbs, I want to get into the Cassiopeia itemization real quick. I know you had something to say about that.
Yeah, so she went with the tier first, then finished the Abyssal Scepter, then a Death Cap, then completed the Seraphs, and then got boots, which to me is more of the realistic build. Obviously, you know, snakes don't have feet, have heads that can wear hats, Rabadon's Death Cap. Obvious.
Thematically correct.
But the build makes sense because they don't want to dive. They want to get dove into against a Sivir, a Sejuani, a Maokai. They just want to defend themselves. So lots of dive. He has up and front burst damage.
You need to tell that to Koro, man, because there was one member that definitely wanted to dive in this game, and he was going hard in the paint. Every single time he could get anywhere near the AD carry, he was going for it.
Yeah, and you were talking about picks and bans. Nautilus jungle. Man, I personally love Nautilus jungle. I talked about it a few weeks back, like way when it was just like Cinderhulk was coming out. I think this is a great jungler to fall back on. It provides so much zone control, so much CC. It has 4 types of CC. You can hit everybody on a team with it if you just change targets. You're constantly AoEing. And if your Deft is one of your main carries, you get to protect him. Also, his early game, people think it's very weak. His E is extremely strong, and his passive adds extra damage to his attack. You see it on the invade when they go for the level 1, that you're not expecting that type of damage from a Nautilus, and he's able to just make up for the deficit where it's hard for a Nautilus to escape. He's got movement speed quints. He's able to chase after people if they do escape from him and get his passive off. So I think the Nautilus pick is really good when you're protecting those backliners.
And especially if you plan for it, because everyone says, why would you pick it over anything else? Well, they banned everything else, so then he has to pick it.
It's a good fallback.
If that is what you have as a fallback, I completely agree with you. That was next level getting in there. Didn't even go for the Nunu, went for something new.
I have to say, I really do like to see the Rek'Sai and the Gragas banned out, simply because we get to see where junglers are going to go in this tournament if those are not available to them. Rek'Sai has dominated so far this tournament. Now we see Nautilus being the 4th pickup for these junglers.
I think the story of the game came down to the level 1. So AHQ started off by smiting the Gromp and giving all of the XP to the bottom lane. Now that would have been a great strategy had there been a regular lane. Oh.
AHQ on screen right now as you're talking about them. They're working out their strategy, see if they can come back in this next game. I'll let you continue on with your point, though, about that level 1. Exactly.
Yeah, so they went for a level 1 that gave a lot of quick experience to the bottom lane so that they don't miss a beat of any experience, so they would have had a huge lead. EDG, though, accurately reads AHQ thinking, okay, they really camped the bottom lane, go for the lane swap, and then has the better jungle path to invade the red buff. Thresh just sits there. Level 1 waits for the jungler and top lane to just invade, gets a free kill, and then eventually AHQ gets a little bit greedy, goes top, and dies hard.
And even more impressive is how they set up the turret dive off that, because it looked like it was going to be a 4v3 kind of up there. But what Koro did is he actually pushed them off the turret and made it a 3v1 turret dive. It was just so smart.
I do want to jump into our replay. 26 minutes into the game, 4 for 2 for EDG around the Baron spawn. We're going to give this one to you, so we're going to pull that up on your screens right now, and you can take it away.
Yeah, and one of EDG's strongest points in their game is their Baron control, and they started off any small advantage. The advantage you got here, you think it's 5v5, everyone knows what's going on. There is no advantage. Mountain doesn't have his ultimate, so if we roll this one out, you'll see that he can't throw it. I'm like, where's Mountain's ultimate? Oh, it's still on cooldown. They chunk it out with Kalista, the double smites, no hopes for a steal. Unfortunately, AHQ overcommit into the pit. I think if they had left one more member outside to deal with death, all this damage wouldn't have come through and it would have gone a little bit better.
And EDG, they love to force these fights. They love to go to objectives. And when they have double smite Kalista, you're not going to steal it away from them. It's so hard to do so. And then they clean up after they pick it up for themselves, and then they just start snowballing from there. And that's how they create these advantages. You talked about EDG. When they have a little bit of an advantage, they want to snowball it more. They want to get as much as they can. And when they want to fight you, they don't wait for it. They don't wait for the hard engage. They force something that you have to fight them on. And I love that play style. We're going to be seeing more of that this series.
Now we saw their thirst for the Baron, though, almost bite them there in the end as they go for it with just the 2 members. So hopefully they can stay away from some of those tendencies. We'll see if Edward Gaming can keep the momentum on their side in Game 2 versus AHQ. You're watching the 2015 Midseason Invitational.
If he can handle himself in the mid lane, AHQ has a chance to win.
Their bot lane, in the bot lane.
This is pretty greedy.
Tough. Koro under the turret. That's not where he wanted to be. Westor is able to pick up a kill now. Glacial Prison locks up 3. Mountain's coming up big in this fight. Elvis has eyes on Pawn. So does Westor. They turn it. Ziv is on to Deft, and he's not going to be able to do much, but he throws Mako to Westor. That could finalize him. They both go down, and the onslaught of shadows comes through. EDG takes game 1.